there's a book perfect for you, and it's different for everyone. For me, it started at 7 years old when I first read Homer's Odyssey. Since then, the perfect book has been one that's both pop and profound. A story that flows effortlessly, speaks with cultural references, mystery, and pulls you into the everyday magic of being human. This list is my personal search for that perfect book. Books that made me lose track of time, that spoke to the chaos and clarity inside me, that felt like they were written just for me. Let's begin. Herman Hesse's Damien, a journey through the shadows of adolescence and self-discovery, where the line between myth and reality blurs. It's a quiet storm of a book asking who we really are beneath the surface. Then, Steppenwolf by Herman Hesse, which dives into the fractured psyche of a man torn between society and his wild inner nature. A book for anyone who's felt like an outsider, dancing between order and chaos. J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye captures a restless pulse of youth, the raw edges of alienation, and the desperate hope for connection. A classic that never feels old. James Joyce's A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is a stream of consciousness masterpiece that maps the birth of artistic identity with all its struggles and breakthroughs. Haruki Murakami's Kafka on the Shore is a dreamlike puzzle. Talking cats, fish falling from the sky, a mysterious library, it's all there. But beneath the surrealism, there's a tender search for identity, grief, and healing. It's the kind of novel that leaves you wondering if maybe dreams and memories are more real than reality itself. Chuck Palahniuk's Survivor is a postmodern fever dream, a book that begins on the last page and counts backwards. It's about a man who escapes a death cult and becomes a media messiah. It's dark, funny, twisted, and painfully sharp about the culture of spectacle and self-destruction. Pornopoeia by Reinaldo Moraes is pure chaos. Sex, drugs, São Paulo, all filtered through an electrifying, hyper-lucid voice. It's Bukowski meets Oswald de Andrade, exploding in every paragraph. It's one of the wildest rides in Brazilian literature. Then there's Zero by Ignacio de Loyola Brandão, a dystopia set in a future Brazil that feels terrifyingly familiar. It's brutal, experimental, and visionary. A scream against authoritarianism that still echoes today. And Agosto by Ruben Fonseca, a noir set during the political crisis of Getúlio Vargas. Gritty, fast, raw. Fonseca brings the crime novel into Brazilian history like nobody else. Kafka's The Metamorphosis is the ultimate metaphor for alienation. A man wakes up turned into an insect, and nobody really cares. It's absurd, tragic, and eerily close to how life often feels when no one's really listening. It's also incredibly short, and yet it stays with you forever. In Brave New World, Aldous Huxley imagines a future where pleasure replaces freedom. There's no war, no pain, but also no meaning. It's a terrifyingly seductive vision of control through comfort. Unlike Orwell's vision of fear and repression, Huxley shows a world where people surrender willingly. And then, 1984, George Orwell's masterpiece of total surveillance and thought control. It's a warning that still hits too close to home. Language twisted into obedience, truth erased in real time. Reading it today feels less like fiction and more like instructions someone found and decided to follow. Roberto Bolaño's The Savage Detectives is a labyrinth, a novel disguised as a quest, disguised as a biography, disguised as a disappearance. It's about poetry, youth, the impossibility of capturing a moment once it's gone, and about chasing ghosts through Mexico City and beyond. It's chaotic, tender, intellectual, and punk as hell. Paul Auster's The Book of Illusions is quieter, more haunted. A man loses his family and finds obsession in the work of a forgotten silent film actor. It's about grief and the strange ways people try to rebuild reality through art, memory, and myth. Auster writes with that melancholic sharpness, like a detective novel where the mystery is existence itself. Nick Hornby's High Fidelity might seem lighter, but it's no less profound. It's about music, heartbreak, and how we use art to survive. The protagonist, Rob, makes top 5 lists to avoid growing up, and it's impossible not to see yourself in his stubbornness and awkward honesty. Michael Chabon's Wonder Boys is another story of male creative disarray. A once celebrated writer unraveling during a chaotic literary festival. It's funny, warm, and full of literary in-jokes, but also carries real emotional weight about failure, mentorship, and second chances. Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five is a book about war, trauma, time travel, and how absurd reality really is. Billy Pilgrim becomes unstuck in time after surviving the bombing of Dresden, and what follows is a surreal anti-war meditation with aliens, satire, and heartbreak. It's funny until it isn't. Then it's devastating. Flann O'Brien's The Third Policeman dives even deeper into absurdity. It's like falling into a black hole of Irish wit, existential loops, and bicycles with souls. It reads like a fever dream, but every page hides questions about death, identity, and the illusion of control. You don't read this book, it happens to you. Ernesto Sabato's The Tunnel is the opposite. Stripped down, claustrophobic, and terrifyingly precise. A painter confesses to murder, but what he's really confessing is something much darker. The way obsession, ego, and isolation corrode the soul. Sabato stares into the abyss, and it stares back. Then there's Lanark by Alasdair Gray, a Scottish masterpiece that defies categories. It starts realist, ends surrealist, and in between there's a self-insertion of the author and a critique of society that feels both local and cosmic. It's a book about being an outsider, a dreamer, a human in a world that makes no sense, and that's exactly why it's unforgettable. The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. Satan visits Soviet Moscow and everything goes haywire. Talking cats, flying witches, Pontius Pilate. It's a novel about truth and censorship, madness and freedom, with dazzling style and deep irony. It's like Dostoevsky threw a party and invited Kafka and Gogol, and nobody sobered up. Juan Rulfo's Pedro Paramo is a haunting novel. It's short, but its silence echoes. A man visits a ghost town in search of his father and instead finds a limbo where the dead speak more clearly than the living. It's the book that inspired Garcia Marquez to believe in the impossible. The structure is broken, time loops in on itself, and death feels more real than life. It's myth and memory, wrapped in dust and voices. Sometimes a guilty pleasure isn't about shame, it's about joy. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline is pure escapism, a wild ride through pop culture and virtual worlds that keeps you hooked even when you know it's just fun. Meanwhile, Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist is a spiritual journey wrapped in simple, poetic storytelling. Some might call it cliché, but its message about following your dreams touches a universal chord. Both remind us that reading can be both entertaining and meaningful, even if not highbrow. And finally, The Most Secret Memory of Man by Mohammed Mugarsar, the perfect closer. It's a novel about the search for the perfect novel, about the burden of genius, the myth of authorship, and the shadow of colonialism over literature. Layered like a mystery, it chases a disappeared writer, but what it truly reveals is the hunger to find meaning, voice, and place through the act of writing. It's a book that interrogates the very list you're watching and perhaps even earns a spot at the top. What is the perfect book? It's not the same for everyone, but maybe it's always the same feeling. That moment when a story dissolves the world around you, when you're not reading anymore, you're just gone. A voice in your head that isn't yours, but feels like it could be. A place you've never been, that somehow feels like home. These books, messy, mythic, raw, funny, wounded, full of longing and language, they were my search. Each one gave me a glimpse of something. The chaos of being alive, the poetry of small gestures, the unbearable weight of time, the lightness of laughter. I didn't choose them for being the greatest or most important. I chose them because they cracked something open in me, and because at least once they made me believe I had found it. The perfect book. Maybe the search never really ends. But maybe that's the point. And now, I want to hear from you. What's the book that did that to you? The one that changed your brain, or your soul, or at least your afternoon? Drop it in the comments. I'll read every single one. And if this video meant something to you, if you saw a part of yourself in it, share it, subscribe, and stick around. There's a lot more magic where this came from. Thanks for watching.